Okay, Thursday, is it 19th of June? Uh, got a lovely little workout today, one that I like to do. So kicks off its pull-ups, and then seated row. I think if I remember correctly, it's seated row supersetted with pull-up arts. Then after that, take a little walk and 4 sets of 400-meter repeats. So I am making some sort of start on the goal of the mile under 9 minutes. Pull-ups. Now I said my goal was 12. So so I'm working on standards set out by Alan Thrall, which seemed to me a good idea to me. So I looked at these standards and they seemed to be a good idea. And one of the standards is 12 pull-ups. I can do them already in narrow grip, so I thought I'll make a challenge of it and go wide. Now the thing about this challenge, or these goals rather, is that you can scale them up pretty much infinitely. So as soon as you get the goals at a certain body weight, then you can increase body weight and get them again and again and again. So there's no real end point to it. But first of all, get them at one body weight. So that's what I'm doing now. So I've got a timer set at 2.5 minutes, and I'm simply going to do sets of 5 until I fail. Okay, nothing hugely dramatic about it so far. But obviously, as I go through, it's gonna become harder. So I'm thinking I'm going to get 30 or 40 reps, which I think is a good target for a pull-up session. Anyway, see how it goes. So simple as that. Recently I've been doing quite a bit of walking and rucking even. At the same time, I've sort of like definitely loosened up on the diet front. Hopefully the two sort of like cancel each other out, so I'm not tremendously gaining a load of blubber, but I'm gonna have to think about that again. So I gave myself a bit of leeway on the diet just to accommodate the walking and the rucking. But I want to keep it all under control. And obviously, I'm starting to introduce running again. So fast running. I don't want to be putting on loads of body weight. Yeah, essentially, in this scheme of things, body weight is pretty much making everything harder. So all the goals are multiples of body weight. So for example, I want to get bench press 5 reps with my body weight, which I can do already easily. Well, I say easily, I can do that already, but if I keep piling on loads of weight, everything's going to get harder. So I've got to be careful. But I'm feeling the strain of restricting the calories. After a while, it just becomes it erodes your enthusiasm. Let's say. So I'm giving myself a bit of a break, but not for long. Okay, second set of 5. So hopefully the second set will feel a bit smoother. So I notice that when I'm doing the V handle, it feels very good. When I'm doing this wide lat, this wide pull up, it hits every joint. I can feel it on the joints. But as I said, I wanted to make a challenge of it, so there you go. That's the price you pay. Yeah, that felt a bit better actually, so a bit of lubrication. So nothing dramatic about this session until the end. At some point in time I'm gonna, I know for a fact, at some point in time I'm gonna run out of the ability to do sets of 5. But I've been watching a few videos on how to progress pull-ups, and this seems to be the consensus. You don't go for maximum pull-ups. What you do is you do lots of sets not to failure, and I think that there's I'm going to mix it up anyway. So I'm going to do weighted on the V handle, weighted pull-ups, and I'm going to do this, what I'm doing now, with body weight. But the recommendations seem to be sort of like, don't go to failure, just do sub-maximal sets and do plenty of them. I think the one that I seem to, that resonated with me was do 30 or 40 reps. Per session. So I thought, yeah, that sounds reasonable. So here we are. Now, as soon as this becomes easy, it sets of 5. So as soon as I get something like, I don't know, if I get to the point where I can do sort of like 10 sets of 5, if that happens, I'm not even sure that it will happen. If I get to the point where I can do 10 sets of 5, I'll probably break it. I'll probably go for sets of 6, sets of 7. Who knows? But up the ante, progress it. I know last time I did this, I did a set of 10. But I'm thinking, with what I'm reading and researching, a set of 10 is too many. I'm getting too close to failure, making it too hard. You don't need to make it too hard. I think that's one of the fallacies of training. You don't need to go to the absolute extremes. The middle way. Yeah. I will take these to failure, but it will only be probably the last set. The last set will be taken to failure, so most of it will be sub-maximal. Okay, no set of 5. Okay. Another thing that came up in my research, make it sound like I'm a scientist, but bit of watching YouTube. Another thing that came up, the idea of sort of like you need to make your reps carbon copies. So it's not that, I said this before. I think a lot of people doing bodybuilding, they'll do sort of like a curtailed range of motion, half reps, 3/4 reps. And it's not that it doesn't work. I think it does work. Yeah, it's a perfectly valid way to train. You see people doing bicep curls, and it's sort of like, if you do a curl, it's not doing much right at the bottom, and it's not doing much right at the top. So in that middle zone, that's where all the action is. Yeah. So if you restrict your curling to that middle zone, you probably still get a massive amount out of it. You probably get the vast majority of what you're going to get out of curling, you get it in the middle zone. Same as, for example, bench pressing. You don't need to lock it out. I've seen people squatting and they sort of like, go real deep, come up about halfway and go back down again. You don't have to do full range of motion for it to be effective. But I think that if you want to measure things, let's say you're doing these pull-ups and you're not getting your chin over the bar, I call it, this band is acting as the bar, so the chin's going over the band, let's say. But if if you're doing pull-ups and you're just touching that with your nose, let's say, or you come down about 3/4, so you're not fully extending the down position. Yeah, yeah. You don't really know what you're getting. Yeah, it's effective training, but you don't know if you're progressing because each rep is not replicating. You're not comparing apples to apples. Let's say. I'm not quite sure, how you see it. When I'm at the bottom position of a pull-up, yeah, I really am at the bottom position. I can't go any lower. But I think, because probably because of well, let me just do this 5. Yeah, so each of those reps, I went down as far as I could go. I'm not sure if it looks like that actually. I've noticed as I've got older, I think I'm losing some range of motion. So my arms aren't quite straightening out anymore. Doesn't bother me, but as I say, when I'm doing these pull-ups, it might not look like I'm fully extending at the bottom, but I am. I can't go any lower. Yeah. So each rep, I'm always down at the bottom, and the chin's over the band. I think otherwise, if you do something else, you can't measure it. You can't say, how many reps you got. Yeah. Not to say that the training is not effective. It's effective training. Yeah. So you can do lots of sort of like half reps, and you can still stimulate the adaptations. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying for measurement's sake. So if you want to say I got 20 reps, yeah, each one of those reps has to be a rep, and that's what I'm going for. I'm thinking sort of like, okay, at this moment in time, I only need 12 to get my goal, but eventually, I'd like to go further. And I'm not quite sure about upping the body weight at any point now. I'm not sure about that at all. I'd never say never. If I was really lean and I was hitting good numbers and I could knock out a mile in under 9 minutes, I think why not? Put the body weight up. I think I'd be healthy enough. So this is I think that, the format that I've chosen that's got a blend of sort of like barbell lifts, body weight, and running. And it's self-regulating. It's not going to let me get too flabby and still hit the body weight targets and the 9-minute mile. Yeah. Equally, it's not going to let me burn off all my muscle to hit these body weight targets. I think an easy way to get good at chins is to have stick legs. Yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. Okay, these are still feeling pretty good. So that's 5 sets of 5 so far. So I think at the beginning I said something like between 30 and 40. So that's 25. If I do hit the 40 rep mark, which is 8 sets of 5, then I don't know. Probably do a burnout set at the end. Just go to failure. Take 1 set to failure at the end. If I get 8 sets of 5, but I think that'll be pretty good actually. So yeah, if I get 8 sets of 5, I'll do a burnout set at the end, and then after that, I'll go for sets of 6. Yeah, up the ante, climb up. It's all about little steps forward, bits of progress. I say, I think in all of this, in all the whole thing, at no point should it feel like you're killing yourself. That's what I think. The only time that it should feel like you're killing yourself is, well, competition day. There's no point leaving anything in the tank on a competition day. So if you're doing sort of like powerlifting competition, yeah, or let's say I don't know, you're racing a 5K or whatever, yeah, empty the tank, go for it. Uh, I tend to find that if I've got a deload coming up, you know, I mean, I'm a pretty sporadic deloader. I'm not good at deloads. I want to train. I enjoy the training too much. Yeah, but I recognise the power of a deload. It's regenerative, restorative. And if I've got a deload coming up, sort of like the week immediately before a deload and the few days before the deload, I will tend to sort of like push it to the limits. Put myself into the ground and knowing that you've got a deload coming up. Yeah, but generally speaking, the vast majority of the time, you don't need to feel like you're killing yourself. And I would say that for the natural trainer, same applies to bulking and cutting. I think that if you're in misery, starving, you're doing something wrong. You're probably going to be burning all your muscle off. So if it's really getting to you, you're probably going too hard at it. Okay, another set of 5, hopefully. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good actually. I must admit. It's a pleasant, 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 pleasant experience. I'm sure it's going to come to an end. I don't think it's not so easy that I could sustain it indefinitely. It's going to come to an end, but it's a good way to do it. But yeah, as I was saying, I think in all of this, avoid the absolute extremes. If you, and that's what and I would say by the same token, you be careful what you wish for. I never did a bodybuilding competition, but I did a powerlifting competition, and yeah, there are risks involved. You know, there's there's a cost to it. Uh, I think I got away with it relatively unscathed. Uh, my you know, I was a moderately successful unequipped natural lifter, so belt only. Uh, I was totaling well into the 600s. So my best lift was my deadlift. 600-pound deadlift. I never got 600 pound in competition though. I think the best I did in competition was 265. Because the thing being is that I always ended up dieting into competition. So I never had my top strength in competition. It was always I always dieted down for competition. And I think it was the best way. Yeah, just slip into the weight category, just underneath it. Quite 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 a precise operation. You have to really sort of like time it well, and the day before, hardly any water. Yeah, not so bad. Yeah, it's not a killer or anything, but I look at these sort of like natural bodybuilders on stage, and I think, wow, that just looks like, it looks painful. It looks like you come out of a concentration camp to be to me. It looks like you went through a lot of misery. Okay, this might be the last one. I don't know yet. 34. Yes, I thought it would be. Okay, so what's that? 34. Okay, I'm going to do one more. One more. Oh, do another set 4. Just to seal the deal. Yeah. That's it, you know. Careful what you wish for. Is it worth it? Yeah, I mean, up to you. I'm not going. I'm not going to judge anybody who does these things. In many ways, they deserve respect. They've done something hard, but it's not for me. I wouldn't put myself through that process. To be a stage-ready natural bodybuilder, I wouldn't do it. I suppose for some people it's easier than it is for others. Yeah. I think there's a big genetic component to it. I think most people tend to, for good reason. You gravitate to what you're naturally good at. For me, it's powerlifting. It fitted me. I think. I think I was pretty much made for powerlifting. It's not. I think I had a good natural build for powerlifting. Yeah. I think I had the mentality for it. I enjoyed it no end. I really did. But I think playing to your strengths is not always the best policy in some ways. Because it's not fixing your problems. So for me, I think a lot of my problems, it's been sort of like body fat and cardio, and so I was probably better off in terms of health and longevity when I was doing karate. I did 10 years of karate, and I enjoyed that no end as well. And I wasn't all that great at it. I was okay, I suppose. I wanted to do it, so that's half the battle. But I always thought that people with long limbs seem to have a lot of advantage when it came to landing the blows. Okay, I'm gonna do one more set and call it a day on these pull-ups. Three, that's it. Yeah, good session, I think. All right. So, what happened there? 6 sets of 5, 4, 3 on a 3-minute timer. So, good stuff, I think. Good stuff. Step forward, I believe. Yeah, so I know our friend from the old school strength, old school fitness, pumping iron after 60. Yeah, he probably wants to see me do do 12 and then 13, but I'm going to go the indirect long route. I'm going to go the tortoise route. I'm going to go the easy route. Yeah, and build it up gradually. No rush. There's no rush, my friend. There's no rush. We'll get there. We're all going to live forever.